Well, at least 46 people have been killed after a fire broke out in a multi-story building in Bangladesh. Now, dozens were hospitalized at the Dhaka Medical College Hospital, where at least 33 people, including women and children, eventually died. 10 others died at the city's main burns hospital. 22 are in critical condition, according to officials. Local media reports that the inferno began in a restaurant at approximately 10 p.m. local time on Thursday in the capital. The fire was brought under control after 2 hours, and the cause is still being investigated, but local fire service says it could have started from a gas leak or stove. Hundreds of houses remain underwater. Roads still submerged after heavy rainfall in the northwestern region of Brazil's state triggered a severe flooding of the area. At least 12,000 locals have been evacuated amid local threats of river overflow. Local authorities reported that the river level reached 15.56 meters, surpassing the historical high water level of 2015. According to reports, 17 municipalities, including Brasilia and Rio Branco, have already been affected by the natural disaster, with search and rescue operations being conducted through the submerged areas. Officials are also appealing to the government for urgent assistance. Last year, severe rainfall in the area resulted in casualties and property damaged. And thousands of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro supporters marched in Caracas to commemorate the 20th anniversary of Hugo Chávez's anti-imperialist speech. And footage shows supporters of the Venezuelan government marching while holding pro-Maduro and anti-US signs. The Venezuelan president addressed his supporters, pledging more battles against imperialism. The rally commemorates the 20th anniversary of the anti-imperialist character of the Bolivarian Revolution proclaimed by former President Hugo Chávez. Let's turn attention now to the elections in Iran, where voting is underway as the country holds its first poll since the 2022 anti-government protests. Today's elections are seen as a crucial test of legitimacy and national support for Iran's leadership, but a low turnout is expected. Voter apathy remains high following a period of unrest after the death of a young woman detained by morality police for wearing improper hijab. More than 61.2 million people are eligible to vote as two separate polls are taking place, one to elect the next members of parliament and another to elect members of the Assembly of Experts. And EU farmers are striking again, this time the biggest display in Brussels, Belgium, where EU agricultural ministers met earlier this week. But the strike turned violent with clashes with the police. Let's get in more perspective and insights now as we're joined by Wada Imran from Berlin. Wada, anything new about the demands of the farmers this time?
Thanks for having me. Yes, farmers are out on the roads once again with their tractors and their concerns. This week in Brussels, there was a lot on their agenda. One of the biggest points was that they are against agricultural imports from non-EU countries. They say that cheap imports become cheap supermarket products, harming their sales and making prices unstable. They also say that it's quite difficult to compete with these products because farmers in Europe are expected to comply with high environmental standards. Which brings me to the second point. They're calling on EU decision makers to ease environmentally friendly policies, or the Green Deal as it's called. Complying with this has become far too expensive for them, and this is where farmers, regardless of where they come from in Europe, are united in saying that these costs are hurting the agricultural industry. The protests in Brussels saw clashes with the police. Farmers burnt hay and tires on the road, blocked highways, threw eggs and set off firecrackers. The police had to come in with huge water cannons to extinguish these flames and also fire tear gas at the protesters. The setting of this, right under the nose of the European Union headquarters in Brussels, is sending a strong message.
And what, of course, a very strong message sent there to the leadership of the EU. But any official response just yet from the agricultural ministers or officials?
Yes, it seems the calls are being heard by the EU decision makers and quick policy changes are coming about. And they've made some efforts to ease farmers' concerns. For example, the EU has, for now, removed the goal of cutting farming emissions by 2040. These planned policies for emission cuts are part of the big goal of the EU to be zero emissions within the next 2 decades. Some of the agricultural ministers that were at the meeting this week did seem to kind of agree that some of the parts of the Green Deal are very hard to meet. They've also shelved some planned laws about pesticide use for now. Some of the farmers, for example, from Poland, are saying that imports from Ukraine should also be limited because EU products cannot compete with their prices. And since these protests have been going on for weeks, the ministers' meetings was kind of also to come up with a response for this. But this development has hurt environmental activists and worried them because farming is responsible for at least 10% of all EU emissions.
And the protest isn't just limited to Brussels. I mean, earlier this week, there were protests in Poland and Spain. Speak to us from that window.
Yeah, it's all over Europe. The one in Brussels is kind of the big symbolic one near the headquarters of the EU. But similar scenes of tractors blocking highways, clogging main roads, and holding up signs chanting slogans is a familiar sight in Europe now for weeks. Most recently in Poland, but also in Spain, where farmers were out in Madrid a few days ago calling for less bureaucracy and red tape in relation to environmental measures. So I think that EU policymakers were aware that such a backlash would come, especially because of unstable prices all over Europe, inflation still looming, and recession still on the cards. While these protesters may be from different parts of the continent, their calls are very, very similar, signaling that they're demanding a larger policy change, not just from their own governments, but from the EU as a whole.
Well, Wada, we hope that the farmers and leaders of EU can perhaps have a common ground, but we must thank you most kindly. Wada Imran, DW correspondent live for us in Berlin. Listen, attention now to the continent here in Africa. A university student has been killed and another seriously injured by stray bullets after unknown gunmen shot dead 2 men in a packed car on a busy street near the center of South African city, Johannesburg. The police say the students had been caught in a crossfire and got hit when their bus was passing the scene of the shooting. According to crime statistics, between July and September 2023, an average of 34 people were shot dead every day in South Africa. Witnesses to these killings in broad daylight said they are shocked by what happened. No arrests have so far been made. An economist, Makwe Masilela, warns that the implementation of the National Health Insurance Bill in South Africa may necessitate substantial hikes in personal income tax and increased value-added tax. Masilela advises the government to proceed cautiously, ensuring they do not drive South African taxpayers to emigrate or discourage workforce participation, which could also deter foreign direct investment. The bill currently awaits President Cyril Ramaphosa's approval after being passed by both the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces.
National health insurance is very important and necessary for this country because it's only fair that we all have access to good health care system. But just like any other thing, we need to have the money to be able to fund it. As it stands, We all know that our economy is not doing that great. We know that the fiscal is not working. And then the government, we've just seen over the last budget, they are also trying by all means to lessen their borrowings. Hence, they head into our reserve from the Reserve Bank. So the question here continues to be affordability. And then one still is to see how creative the guys will be, to get money. And we hope they don't do anything that will chase away the current taxpayers or potential investors going forward.
Let's check in with more stories from the continent. The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, says Senegal President Macky Sall has made it very clear that he will be leaving office when his term ends. President Umar Aliou Touré was responding to questions that Mr. Sall might not quit when his term expires during ECOWAS briefing in Abuja. President Sall announced he would step down at the end of his term in April, following a row of the postponement of elections. On Thursday, he also said his departure date was absolutely firm. However, according to media reports, the National Dialogue Commission, which he set up, is calling for him to stay in office until elections, potentially in June.
On Senegal, as we said in the communique, the president of Senegal has indicated that he will leave office on the 2nd of April, and I have not seen any indication that he has changed that. So this is ECOWAS's understanding. The information you just quoted, I am not privy to that, apart from, of course, some press, some news reports. But His Excellency President Macky Sall made it very clear during the summit that he is leaving. His term ends on the 2nd of April, and he will leave office on 2nd of April. We all need to raise is, can we do business if there is no peace and security? Can our people move freely in the sub-region if there is no peace and security? Can we enjoy the ECOWAS trade liberalization schemes if there is no peace and security? So in our perspective, in as much as we would like to focus on trade, economic and other issues, we need a degree of stability to be able to focus on those. And this is why the leaders have found it important to address peace and security. Without peace and security, you can't do anything. So it would be really difficult for ECOWAS to focus only on economic integration when insecurity threatens our stability.
In Ghana, a power cut to the country's parliament has interrupted a debate on the president's State of the Nation speech. The state-run electricity company of Ghana cut the power supply over a debt of 23 million Ghanaian cedis, approximately $1.8 million. The chamber employed the use of a backup generator and paid up 13 million cedis before power was eventually restored. The power company's communications director, William Boateng, explains that it had resorted to disconnecting power because Parliament had consistently refused to honor demand notices to settle its bills. For all energy fuel sources required across generations of time, Africa has always had an abundant supply of its resource base. Despite this, however, it has remained the most energy-deprived continent in the world in terms of its derivative access to energy. This is according to the Ghanaian Minister for Energy, Matthew Opoku Prempeh. Mr. Prempeh, who spoke exclusively to Channel CV on the sidelines of the ongoing 2024 Nigeria International Energy Summit in the nation's capital, Abuja, goes on to decry the experiences of Africa, describing it as the center of extraction. He also spoke on the role of Nigeria and its gas potential, calling for the use of the gas resources to solve basic problems in the country.
Africa has the fuel sources, the uranium, having in abundance. Oil and gas, recent one, we have it in abundance, but 80% of oil and gas that we extract from Africa doesn't stay in Africa. 100% of the uranium we extract from Africa doesn't stay in Africa. The critical minerals that we need for renewables are bound in Africa. But when you look about Africa's penetration in the renewable energy industry, and look at the investments around the world going into renewable energy, Africa gets less than 1%. So it is not a matter of the fuel sources, because I've demonstrated to you that of all the fuel sources we have, but Africa is the most energy deprived continent, and we have the most highest energy prices in the world. So really, Africa has become a center for extraction. Everything they extract and somebody uses it to their benefit. So I was saying that, yes, we have gas. God has blessed us with gas everywhere. Nigeria alone has gas to feed the whole of Africa for years. But let us start thinking about using the gas within Africa, utilizing it within Africa, to improve our energy depravity, to break down the energy resources, to better the environment, and to make sure that the health benefits accrue to our female folk. Because 90% in Africa cooking is done by females. These females are cooking in bad fumes and their kids are behind them. So we actually impact on the next generation. So it's good to have gas, but let's use the gas to solve our basic problems. That if all Nigeria will stop cutting trees and we use gas in eating and doing our activities of daily life, putting it in cars, using it in power generation, the environment is better than using 60%, 70% fuel wood. That is also depriving the air of oxygen and depriving our ability to extract carbon dioxide. So when it comes to the forests, the world's biggest carbon sink is in Africa. So we don't put value on all these things, and even if we do, we have externalized the value. The value is not within Africa. Yeah. So I was trying to position Nigeria as the biggest black African country in the world, with both the human resource and the natural resource, to actually seize the opportunity and lead. For once, lead, so that the black man starts gaining respect everywhere in the world.
And away from power, bright minds from across Africa's technology, innovation and entrepreneurship sectors have come together for the Omniverse to exchange knowledge and collaborate to develop shared solutions. The event was a platform was created to harness collective efforts and shape Africa's digital narrative.
It's a fusion of innovation and collaboration for some of the brightest minds in technology, innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship.
The Omniverse, as he strides majestically,
with a focus on generating practical solutions to the challenges faced by communities, the Omniverse aims to foster digital innovation in Africa.
We recognize the potential of Nigeria's digital innovation ecosystem, and we understand that this ecosystem can only grow by breaking down silos and creating strategic win-win partnerships. We co-created this platform as a community and an aggregator of the digital economy for technology, startups, research and academia, regulators, government, media, and digital innovation ecosystem stakeholders. We're also looking at the ripe opportunities that exist. And as we look at the last 25 years, we see a nation that has overcome a lot of challenges, embraced innovation and creativity, and produced world-class organizations and ecosystems.
Structured around overarching themes of building narratives, inspiring creativity, and fostering collaboration, the ultimate aim is to harmonize efforts, thereby creating a space without boundaries.
We are working hard on platforms to bring in all the ecosystem, all the people, incredible people that we have here in Nigeria, to connect and to really enhance the quality and the outreach of their creativity.
To enable inclusive social, economic, and political participation by citizens, international cooperation must harness the potential of digital transformation, mitigate the risks, and play an active role in shaping the transformation in a human-centered way.
An important discussion that comes to light is decoding Africa's digital narrative and bridging the gap in AI representation.
I've been wanting to see Nigerian and African themed effects on the global stage. So seeing that foreigners are using what we are producing, it's a thing of joy. So there's this sense of fulfillment that, yes, this is made in Nigeria, and they have accepted it. They have actually embraced it.
You're capturing every angle of where you are, and that is being stitched together to create that immersive experience. So like Omniverse said just now, you're creating emotions, not just by watching, but now you are actually experiencing it. And that can be used for preservation, culture preservation as well.
Budding entrepreneurs also get a chance to showcase their groundbreaking ideas at a startup pitch. With each pitch, these entrepreneurs are closer to turning their dreams into reality and making a meaningful impact in the startup ecosystem. The Omniverse isn't just about individual brilliance. It's about harnessing collective energies to shape the future of African technology.
And as we begin to wind down on the program, in a landmark medical achievement, a Saudi medical and surgical team has successfully completed the separation surgery of Nigerian conjoined twins Hassana and Husseina at the King Abdullah Special Hospital in Riyadh. The twins, who arrived in Riyadh on October 31 last year, underwent a comprehensive examination that revealed shared areas of the lower abdomen, pelvis, lower spine and lower spinal nerves. The surgical team comprised 38 consultants, specialists, technicians and nursing staff in several specialties. This was the 60th procedure for the Saudi program for separating such twins. The head of the team, Dr. Al-Rabai, the successful separation of Hassana and Husseina exemplifies the kingdom's commitments to advancing medical science and extending compassionate healthcare on a global scale. And finally on the program, everyone, how fast can you dive under the water? Well, this 38-year-old Kuwait diver can add magician to his resume, as he had jaws dropping after defying the odds by becoming the world's fastest diver. What's more surprising is he did that on a wheelchair. Faisal Al-Musawi once again etched his name in the Guinness Book of Records as he completed the challenging feat in an outstanding 37 minutes for a distance of 400 meters swimming back and forth in the Dubai Aquarium. This remarkable accomplishment marks Faisal's third trophy, adding to his previous records as the fastest 10-kilometer swimmer in 2018 and the fastest snorkeling swimmer in 2022. The new record holder could be seen diving with his wheelchair into the Dubai Aquarium, immersing himself in a breathtaking marine environment while crowds in Dubai Mall were cheering and applauding. Born in Kuwait, he had a bright future as a football player until his life took an unexpected turn in 2005 when a car accident left him paralyzed from the waist down. However, instead of giving up, he persevered and found his passion for diving 2 years later. Since then, he has dedicated himself to pushing boundaries and breaking barriers. And what a way to make your mark and legacy. That does it for us here on the program for today and indeed the week. On behalf of the production team and everyone here, I'm Kelly Egiga. Bye now.